Greetings and welcome to another excellent World of Tanks video. As you can see, I have my Malibu Steven Commander in my Wiesel in my garage. Now, I'm going to leave this here for a little bit for the picture to show up at the beginning of the video. We're going to show you, I guess, the progress I've made on the contract, which obviously at stage 6 it unlocks the Steven video. Oh, I'm sorry, the Steven Commander. Stage 7 unlocks the what I call the pajama pattern, or whatever the heck it is. We'll check it out and see what it is. But I've been using my Wiesel primarily, since it is a tank destroyer, for the commander, for the contract. Well, they both start with the letter C anyway. So that's why I decided, I'm going to stick this Steven in here into my Wiesel just for the video. And when I did that, I came to the garage and kaboom, there he is, that freak. So you get the animation of him fading in and out, Star Trek style. Beam me up, Scotty. So that's really fantastic stuff. Hope you guys, get there. You have multiple choices. Stage tier 5 in the beginning of the contract. Then it goes to tier 6 and eventually tier 8 and above. So I was just like, well, I'm going to play something that might be more unpredictable. With the Wiesel, I also used the Rakuten Jagdpanzer 2, or what I call the rack. So the rack is the tech tree tank destroyer, in the line in Era 2. The first of the one that goes rack, then it goes to Martyr A1, then it goes to Begleitpanzer, or as Browny calls it, the Bagel Panzer, since he's not a student of German. And then finally it goes to the Martyr A2. So the rack is the only one of those 4 that is a tank destroyer. So I goof around, play one or the other, whatever I feel is going to be more appealing. I don't know, it's just random. Not really worried about it, and it's going pretty well because the flow of the game is much faster than if I was going to play a tier 6 tank destroyer or what have you. Heavy tanks are just not my thing, man, and it would take me forever to do this in a heavy tank because it's I'm above average maybe, but that's it, and I'm not getting the butt kicking. Now the other thing is, the thing I was doing with the rack and the Wiesel is that I was taking advantage of my ability to also score long hauls. So the point is, I don't have to choose, do I do long hauls on this hand, or on this hand do I do contract? I do both. Okay, so that's the key. So now let's go look at the commander and show you what's going on. All right. Let's try this again. Here in the garage, when you have your commander in your tank, if you just go to the commander at the top of the screen, you'll go right to that commander, which is the Malibu Steven. Now that is kind of freaky. All right, this anti-grav Gilligan's Island coconut drink receptacle. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Mr. Howell. Okay, that's what that reminds me of. So, but I'm from that era, so let's go check it out. Beam me down, Scotty. Boom, he's here. All right, let's check out the skills now. In my Wiesel, they adjusted the Wiesel, the way it plays with the specific 65 meter arming of the rock You can still shoot guys point blank, but it does, 300-ish damage. So it's not that you can't use it, it just you use it at less effectiveness. So here, what I have adjusted this down to, and I've experimented with different configurations with the commander. So Born Leader, this helps your overall stuff of your tank, crew stuff anyway. Since it's a tank destroyer, it has silent driving. This helps reduce the detection ability. And not that you can't see it, but that it doesn't show up as detected for other people to lock on to with the good old right bumper. Or if you're on PlayStation, it would be R1. Camouflage expertise to reduce the number, and we'll show you the number on this one for the still concealment. Rapid loading to reduce the aim time, the reload time. Off-road driving so that it will handle better. Binoculars. This increases the ability of the Wiesel to behave as a light tank for spotting purposes. Super awesome in certain situations, and I have a great situational example to show you that it's really great. This one's supply conservation. This recharges your anything you use that's consumable. So your gold repair or your smoke will recharge 15% faster. It's not necessary, but I like that. Muffled shot, of course, to conceal your blast a little better. It's like 35% better for your camo factor or whatever when you fire. The point is, because the way they changed the Wiesel is a little more useful to me as a rocket sniper. So I get a lot of rocket sniping damage. And so I was configuring this to be more rocket sniper and less of a torpedo bomber, is what we call it. Just like they used to have the torpedo bombers of World War II, and they would come into the ship and they'd come into the ship here and hit it broadside. So you can still torpedo bomb guys, but you have to do it from longer than 65 meters. Sometimes on certain maps that's very difficult to do because they're very undulating maps. So it changes from map to map and position to position on the maps. So you've got to be a master of all the different angles on different maps. Sometimes you're going to snipe, sometimes you're going to do torpedo bombing, sometimes you're going to be moving from spot to spot to shoot guys. So you need to learn how to do all of these things as well as possible and get a little bit lucky that you don't get spotted / hammered while you're trying to drill a guy. So another thing you could add that's also interesting and useful is the sixth sense to let you know, if you're doing rocket sniping like myself, when you're being targeted by the enemy. Now, the other thing you see is, well, you only have 8 skills on this. That is correct. The reason I have 8 skills on this is because whether I have 8 or 9, it really doesn't make a big difference. The thing is, the 9 skills are great. You get a slight improvement. Now, if I added, for example, Sixth Sense, it's not a big deal to me, and I can live without it. But the point of this is that I actually had my previous Wiesel commander get to 9 skills, took those 9 skills, put it on one of my other rocket tanks that I don't use very often, and then took that rocket tank's 8 skills, put it here, because I'm going to be relying on the Wiesel as really my number 1 rocket tank. And so I use the time that I'm spending there to build another commander to a 9, and I'm going to swap that off to something else and bring another 8 and bring it up to 9, because it's a machine for me. Just like I use the 38H to build guys to stage tier 5 or 6, depending, sometimes tier 7, to build commanders there. And I'm constantly playing with non-maximum commanders in tanks that play a lot, because hey, if you're going to play it a lot, you might as well be building commanders while you play it. So in my Sexton Artillery, I do that. I've had great games in my Sexton Artillery with 5 and 6 skill commanders. My record games are with 5 and 6 skill commanders, not 9 skills. I don't use 9 skills in the Sexton Artillery because I don't need 9 skills to play my best. I only need really 5 to do it, and that's not a big deal. So I use that to build commanders, thinking if you're going to play 1,000 games in that thing, that's opportunities to build your guys while you're having fun, while you're working on long hauls. For myself, for example, the 38H is another one. It builds commanders, and I do some games in that every day to build commanders. And sometimes I build low guys up into decent 5 skill commanders. Sometimes I'll take other guys that are 6s, 7s, and make 8s out of them. And then once I make them into an 8, I'm going to transfer them into a tank I'm going to use either a lot or key tanks like Tiger tanks. I like to do that there. So I have a lot of tanks that have a lot of 8 and 9 skill commanders, and let me show you those, especially right now. We're going to start in Cold War. All right, Cold War. Let's start here. All right, FV 101. I put Lemmy in here, even though he matches. This is the Lemmy skin. I put my War Pig here in the Lemmy skin because I'm going to play the Lemmy more. So, he's an 8 skill commander here. Whoops, here we go. Same thing with this one. My Armadillo, he has a 9. Now, it's a 3-star commander, but I don't have him there for his 3-star ability. I have him there because he looks the most G.I. Joe of any commander they make. In fact, he looks more G.I. Joe than the actual G.I. Joe commander, so I don't have a G.I. Joe commander. I have, Major Butch Allen. And so he is technically 3 stars, but I don't use his 3 stars. He's maxed out. I use him because this guy looks G.I. Joe. So there you go. So he's there for a character, not for his 3-star. I got plenty of 3-star guys. All right, here's another one, Scorpion 90. Another one I play rather frequently. So she's a technical. No, I think she's a 9 skill commander. So I use her for character as well. But all of these Cold War tanks, my commanders are 8s or 9s. Now, one thing you have to remember, premium tanks will allow you to move commanders from nation to nation for free if you know how to bump them out. And then they'll turn to a black bar at the bottom. But tech tree tanks like the Scorpion 90 will say that your commander is trained to this tank, and so it's stuck in this nation, and it will cost you gold if you want to trade this from, say, Blue Nation to Red Nation, or go to World War II with this commander. So when I stick a tank with this commander was stuck here, I'm like, you're blue forever. That's fine for me. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just giving you the heads up. Premium tank, so I can move these for free. Like this is the 13 SS. 8 rockets. This is one of the early rocket tanks that I got, along with the advice from my friend Armored Wraith. And it was on sale for dirt cheap, so we got it, and it was, very good. Helped us to learn how to play rockets. We didn't have any tech tree rocket tanks that were accessible. You would have had to have gone to like the Sheridan, I think, was the earliest one, and that's way down the line. I did that later because I had a video to work on. But at the time, I was like, I don't know about this rocket. I wasn't going to go through all of this crud to play a rocket tank and go, this is terrible. And the Sheridan is not a really good rocket tank either. So, like I said, you're going to see, 8s or 9s in these tanks that have commanders. Like this one, Martyr A3. Now this one is maxed out, and I took her from my Bradley because the Martyr A3 is better than the Bradley. So let me show you this here. The Martyr A3 is the end of this line here, which is Era 3. The Bradley is up here. It's okay. It's just bulkier than the Martyr. I think the gun in the Martyr is better. So now the reason I went to the Bradley is for YouTube video. Okay, so I used YouTube videos as the vehicle to force me to go through the quest to get the Bradley. It's okay. It's not super great. The Martyr A3 is much better in Era 3 because it has a little more, life to it. It's a little more of a difference maker. All right, what do we have here? Oh, sorry, this is my VFM5. In fact, this is a commander today that I just got up to the 8th skill, and I swapped her into the VFM5. She was like a 7 skill commander, so I bumped that up, and this is the last tank that had a non-8 skill commander. So I was playing in 38H, got to the 8th skill, and then bingo, put her here. Well, put that skill in the commander that was already there. And now this one, this 3-star, this is a regular tech tree tank. So she's stuck. Watch this. Let's go look at the commander. We go to vehicle assignment, it'll say on the right, training vehicle VFM5. So she's blue forever, which is fine. She's a 3-star. And I would just move her to whatever blue tank I wanted to get a 3-star commander as, for the bonus points for the experience. Thinking, because I play a lot of these blue tanks. I don't do the same in green, and I don't really do the same thing necessarily in the red because I don't play those tanks very much. I'm a blue tank guy. All right. Stormer 30. Great anti-Wiesel tank. There's the Bradley. So the Bradley is a little bulkier and less nimble than the Martyr. So if you're wondering, hey, should I get this Bradley? Well, I don't know. I'd recommend you, go get the Martyr because the Martyr line, number 1 is the Rack Panzer. Number 2 is the Martyr A1. Number 3 is the Begleitpanzer. Number 4 is this one, the Martyr A2, Martyr. Sorry, no, that's the Bradley. It's the Martyr 2. This tank was unlocked doing the Bradley, so I ended up getting it. It's the highest on that line light tank. Desert Warrior, very similar to the Stormer. Very good tank, good rocket sniping tanks. It's just all personal style and what I say rhythm of how you play it. All right, this is the M46A1, right? Yes. Centurion 2. Blah, we don't have any commanders in there. Those are just the starter tanks, basically free starter tanks. 4-rad speaks for itself. But all these are all 8 and 9 skill commanders. M60AX, butt-kicking medium tank for Era 3. You can run down Wiesels in this guy. Not run them down, but you could tail them and kill them, which is one of the key things. So, MBT-70 chain gun makes it also potential Wiesel killer. Really wicked, heavy tank. P-Cells, another Leclerc. This is a prototype for the Ares model. Leclerc T4, this was a season pass tank. Really good. But see, all of these tanks are top-end tanks in Era 3. And that's why I realized I needed to have 8 and 9 skill commanders in each one of them. my friends are like, well, my Leclerc has like 3 skills. And I'm like, bro, you need to put your best commanders in your best tanks to get the best performance. Kind of speaks for itself, when I say it. Wiesel speaks for itself. 8 skills because I use this as a commander builder, and we've gone through really the whole thing just about. BMP2, which is era 2. And then, there's also the BMP3, which is era 3. Now, the BMP3 has a very short, like 9.5 second ballpark reload on the rockets. Very weak in the armor, but it's, kind of like the shadow of the Wiesel. It's very Wiesel-ish, but it's a little bit bigger, and the armor is weaker than the Wiesel. So you can't do exactly the same thing, but it gives you a kind of a general feel for how the Wiesel would play, because the Wiesel is better than the BMP3 in my opinion in many different regards. But the BMP3 is very good because it's better than the Wiesel on the reload. You only have like 14 missiles, but they fire quick, so in the early stages you can be devastating if you're in the Wiesel using rockets. So in the right hands, the BMP3 is quite good. And it's a very short line. If you go look at this line, the red line here we go. That's it. You get the free tank, the T-44A. You got to go through the PT-76. It's pretty trashy. But, well, I didn't think about that, but pretty trashy 76. So PT stands for pretty trashy. It just occurred to me right now. So there you go. You're welcome. Browny did this line to get the BMPs. He maxed out, actually he didn't max this out, he did nothing to upgrade this tank. He used it stock and blew through it like nobody's business. It was disgusting watching him do it. He had a commander and that was it. Commander equipment and consumables, but no upgrades on the guns, no nothing. He didn't waste 10 cents upgrading this tank. To get the BMP-1, which is a stepping stone, it's not really very good. But it make you go through this to get the BMP-2, which is good in era 2. Then you get the BMP-3, which is good in era 3. So you're really going for the BMP-2 and 3, and it's 5 tanks total. Now, if you're in a red, you're going to need this one anyway. So basically, it's 1, 2, and the third tank you get is a good one. Now, the BMP-1 is a rocket tank, which is fine, and it has a chumpy gun. So you have it's like 8 or 9 rockets. Not a big deal, but it is technically a rocket tank. And you get it relatively quickly. So, best recommendation if you want to experiment with rockets and you've done any Red Nation stuff, you're already close to it. You just got to go through one trashy tank. It upgrades or goes through the progression pretty fast though, because it's not very good, so it's got low expectations. So if you're like Browny and you're a freak, oh man, he just went through it, lickety split. Took me a little bit longer, but it's okay. I got to where I needed to go eventually. So BMP3, really fun stuff to play. Again, these are all 8 or 9 in my Cold War tanks, all of them. And that's the key. STRF, another rocket sniper tank that's very good actually once you figure out how to play it. When I first played it, I'm like, this tank stinks, it doesn't play good. Well, I was playing it wrong. I altered my perspective of how this should play, and then it played great. So sometimes you can make the incorrect analysis like I did. Ignis still fantastic, great tank, fun 20-shot autoloader plus 10 rockets. So really fun tank. If you may have had this if you did the operation to get it. Great rocket tank experimentation vehicle because some of you already have this. But again, like I said, these are all 8s and 9s. I'm just going to go through that and show you this. Now, where is Mr. Steven? He's right here. Bingo. Mr. Steven. We saw him. Oh, we need to go look at the contract. So this is stage 6, completed that one to get the Steven, which was fantastic. The next one, stage 7. Not super difficult, but it's time consuming because you have to get 100 kills. All right. And you get the reward, which is this, I call it the pajama, Steven Pajamas camo. I'll get it, of course, because I'm going to go finish this off to get the Roswell tank, because this is a Halloween tank. And that's the key thing. Browny and I did not get this tank last Halloween. So he and I are like gung-ho freaks. Bernie and Hayden had this tank for Halloween. It's awesome. When we saw it, I last Halloween got the Pharaoh, which is fantastic. I like the Pharaoh's Fury. It's a really good tank. But you know, the Egyptian aspect of the Pharaoh's tank appealed to me. It was really cool. The hieroglyphics glow. It just looks fantastic. Okay, so it's tomato. You know, you choose chocolate, your friend chooses vanilla. So Hayden and Bernie had the Roswell. I played with them. It was awesome. The tank I did in the Earn operation, and I would recommend it to you if you played rocket tanks, is the Death Chariot. The Death Chariot uses rocket, technology to shoot floating ephemeral skull heads. And it looks fantastic because you're like, when you launch a rocket, it launches the rocket. Well, you launch the skull head, and the skull head goes off like a rocket. It's awesome. The skull heads are awesome. And now I will be 1 year more skilled in rocketry, but in my Grim Reaper Death Chariot, and it's going to be outstanding. I'm looking forward to that big time. So I know that Browny himself is probably going to be doing that as well. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you, I mentioned about the Steven Commander. Let's go back here. Not so much the Steven Commander itself, because what I'm going to show you had no Steven Commander, but it does have a Wiesel, and this is the key. This is Browny's handiwork in the Wiesel. As you can see, he had a monster game. Only got 1 kill, 6,000 damage, which is, solid in any game. But it's that unbelievable spotting damage on the Siegfried line in encounter battle. This is the key. It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, spotting match variation, because the Wiesel's speed and its maneuverability, as well as its tiny size, makes you the prime spotter. I've gotten 6,000 plus spotting in the Wiesel here, but he sent me this, and the caption on the chat was, "Duke, you have to see this." And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm sure it's good. It's Browny, all right? So we know it's Browny sends you a message. Your expectations are up here, and I was like, oh no, it's way higher than that. This is an unbelievable game. But this is why I like playing the Wiesel. You get, man, when you get on Siegfried line, you're talking my language. It's just really good stuff. So that's what I wanted to show you guys in the Wiesel, and this is one of the reasons why I like using the Wiesel as much as possible, because the Wiesel is a difference maker tank, and the sky is the limit. 19,000 spotting damage. If you're on your game, catch a break, have the right kind of teammates. So he had the right kind of teammates that helped him as he was spotting. They were drilling guys, and it was just jackpot score for Browny. So I wanted to show you guys this here, just to let you look at the possibility. So that covers really everything I wanted to take care of about the Steven Commander and the Wiesel. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you tell your friends to check out this video so they can experience what's going on here, and maybe this will help them as well. So I want to thank you guys for watching the video. Look forward to seeing you guys again in another. And as always, I'd like to say one more thing. Like and subscribe.